All right, good morning, everyone, and thank you for participating in our remote meeting. This is the February meeting of the Budget and Implementation Committee for the Riverside County Transportation Commission. We'll do our best to facilitate a smooth meeting with the public participating. But before we begin, let me review some guidelines and general instructions. Please silence your other communication devices, such as your cell or desk phone. That'll ensure that we have a smooth meeting, won't have too many interruptions. And then, of course, after each agenda item, the chair will announce public comments. We'll take public comments as each item is heard. We'll also have a segment for public comments on non-agenda items. For those on Zoom, if you'd like to make a public comment on the Zoom screen, please click the raise hand button. If you're using Zoom on your phone, tap on your screen, look for the more option, and then the raise hand button on the screen. And if you are calling in, you can dial *9 on your keypad to signal you would like to comment. Thank you, everyone. All right, so our first order of business will be roll call.
Thank you. Good morning, everyone. District 3?
I'm here.
Banning? Beaumont?
Here.
Calamasa? Calamasa? I see Calamasa's hand raised. Thank you. Canyon Lake?
Here.
Cathedral City?
Here.
Coachella? Desert Hot Springs?
Present.
Lake Elsinore?
Here.
Marietta? Palm Desert?
Here.
Palm Springs?
Present.
San Jacinto? Riverside?
Here.
Wildemar?
Here.
Thank you. We do have a quorum.
Thank you very much. Our next item is the Pledge of Allegiance. If I could ask Commissioner Ben Benoit, if you wouldn't mind leading us in the pledge this morning.
Sure. Everyone, please rise. Find a flag and repeat after me. Ready? Begin. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic
for which it stands,
one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right, thank you very much. The next item on our agenda is public comments. This is the time on our agenda for the public to make comments on items that are not on our agenda. Just a reminder, under the Brown Act, the board will not take any action or discuss the matters raised during public comment portion which are not listed. We, of course, could ask staff for clarification or to add the item to a future agenda, and each speaker will be limited to 3 minutes. Commissioner Clerk, do we have any speakers?
I did not receive any written comments and I do not see any hands raised.
All right, well, thank you very much. Go ahead and close public comments on non-agenda items. And the next item is, are there any additions or revisions to this agenda?
No, sir.
All right, then we'll move on. The next item is the consent calendar. And we have consent items 6A through D. Is there any commissioner that wishes to comment or pull any of the consent items? All right, seeing none, is there anyone in the public that wishes to make any comments on any consent item?
We did not receive any written comments on the consent calendar and I don't see any hands raised.
All right, we'll return the matter back to the commission for a motion or other action.
Desert Hot Springs moves.
Calamasa, I heard you. Do I have a second?
Desert Hot Springs second.
Desert Hot Springs second. Could ask for a roll call.
Thank you. District 3?
Yes.
Banning? Beaumont?
Yes.
Calamasa?
Yes.
Canyon Lake? Canyon Lake? Thank you. Cathedral City?
Yes.
Coachella? Desert Hot Springs?
Aye.
Lake Elsinore?
Aye.
Palm Desert?
Yes.
Palm Springs?
Aye.
Riverside?
Aye.
Wildemar?
Yes.
Thank you. The consent calendar passes.
Thank you very much. All right, our next item, item 7 on our agenda, is the quarterly public engagement metrics report for October through December of 2021. We could please call on Aria Alcon-Tapia.
Thank you. Good morning, commissioners. My name is Ariel Alcon-Tapia, and I'm the Senior Management Analyst in the External Affairs Department. Today, I'll be presenting the public engagement metrics for the fourth quarter, that is from October to December 2021. Next slide, please. As with previous metrics reports, the presentation will focus on data that we have gathered from our outreach and our engagement efforts. The data-driven approach allows us to monitor the Commission's progress towards these goals, to analyze the goals, to analyze the effectiveness of our efforts, to consider new emerging features and platforms, and to provide transparency on how the Commission is using its resources to engage with the public. Next slide, please. In today's presentation, I'll briefly go over or review 6 sets of data that we've gathered from our general RCTC platforms, as well as construction projects. These include overall public engagement activities and 5 projects that are under construction, which are here on the screen right now. Next slide, please. Through the end of the fourth quarter, public sentiment on the RCTC channels was positive. All sentiment was above 0, as you can see here on the chart. And this indicates that positive reactions and comments. Topics that generated particular positive comments were the post about the Coachella Valley Rail project and our efforts to gain funding for transportation solutions in the county. Next slide, please. This quarter, we saw a slight increase in followers across our social media channels. On Facebook, we hit a milestone of over 10,000 followers. We are continuing to attract followers on Twitter and Instagram, and communicating with our partners so that we can have more public engagement between our platforms. Next slide, please. Website visits declined last quarter. As with previous reports, most visitors found us organically through search engines such as Google. It is notable that significantly more users accessed our website through social media links than in the past. About 14% of our users used a social media link compared to last quarter, which was only 7%. The homepage continues to be the most visited page, while the news page is ranked 2nd. And then we have the 1591 Express Lanes Connector Project and the employment page. Most people accessed our website using their mobile devices, and this fluctuates from quarter to quarter. Last quarter, we saw the inverse where more people were accessing the website using their desktops. Next slide, please. The Point electronic newsletter subscribers significantly increased due to ad campaigns that encourage the public to get the latest updates from RCTC by signing up. With the increase of subscribers, we also saw an increase in the number of individuals opening the newsletter and clicking on the links to read the rest of the stories. Next slide, please. The Route 60 truck lanes project saw an increase across the board. Social media followers increased on all platforms, and more than 23,000 people sought information through the website. Next slide, please. The I-15 Railroad Canyon Interchange project also saw increases in social media, followers, website visits, and inquiries. The project also uses text messages to provide construction updates. Next slide, please. The I-215 Placentia Avenue Interchange project had a significant increase in construction update signups, with work continuing on the bridge over the I-215. This project does not have dedicated social media pages. Information is provided through the RCTC social media channels, with 3,390 engagements recorded on social media this past quarter. Website visits grew substantially, with many due to, in part, to people seeking information about the second construction contract for the Mid-County Parkway project. Next slide, please. The 91 Quarter Operations Project, or 91 COP, saw modest increases in engagement and users to the website. On January 6th, the new westbound lane opened between Green River Road and the 241 Toll Road. Following the opening, crews scheduled a nighttime full closure of the westbound 91 to install overhead structures. Significant media coverage and public interest occurred for these activities. On the next in the next public engagement metrics report, we would have those numbers to see how all this activity affected our analytics. Next slide, please. In the fourth quarter, the 1591 Express Lanes connector project had significant increase in unique website visitors with a 40% jump from the previous quarter. While there was a dip in Facebook likes, Twitter and Instagram followers increased. Next slide, please. And this concludes my presentation. I'll be happy to answer any questions. Thank you.
All right, thank you very much for that report. Commissioners, anyone have any questions or comments on the report? Commissioner Harnick.
Thank you. I just want to say how helpful those have been. We pick them up on Engage Palm Desert and send them out, all those posts, and it's really been a asset to the community. So thank you.
Great.
All right, thank you for that comment. Any other commissioner comments or questions? All right, let's go ahead and open it up to the public. If you're a member of the public and have joined us and have a question or comment on this item, this would be your time to do so. Turn it over to the clerk.
I'm not seeing any hands raised, and we didn't receive any written comments on this receive and file item.
All right, we'll go ahead and return the matter back to the commission. Any additional questions or comments? All right, seeing them, this is a receive and file, so we will forward this to the commission for final action. All right, let's move on to item number 8. Number 8 is the proposed policy goals and objectives for fiscal year 2022-2023 budget. And we'll ask for a report from Sergio Vidal.
Thank you very much, Commissioner Chair. Sergio Vidal, Chief Financial Officer here with RCTC. Good morning, commissioners. Does everyone hear me well?
Yes.
Yes, thank you. During the January Commission meeting, where both the mid-year fiscal year 22 and upcoming fiscal year 23 revenue projections were reviewed and approved for Measure A, local transportation funds, and TUMF programs, represented the first step in the budget process. The item before you this morning is the next step in the fiscal year 22-23 budget process, which is a consideration of the Commission's goals and objectives, along with the related policies. Next slide, please. The agency's budget development process consists of 3 primary steps. The first is development of the Commission goals and policies. Annually, staff recommends updates to the Commission goals and objectives, as well as fiscal policies, ensuring both strategic priorities and budget are in alignment. Subsequently, departments develop specific goals and objectives in alignment with the overall Commission priorities. The process concludes with the presentation of the upcoming fiscal year 23 budget during the opening of the public hearing in May and subsequent adoption of the budget in June. Next slide, please. For the fiscal year 23 budget, the 4 goals of the people in Riverside County and the transportation that is relied upon are quality of life, operational excellence, connecting the economy, and continuing that responsible partnership with stakeholders. To ensure the quality of life objective is achieved, RCTC seeks to empower the residents of the county in determining the mode of transportation that suits their needs best. This is accomplished by continuing to be a partner in mobility with both local and regional transit agencies, supporting transportation services and projects that equitably benefit all residents, including those in rural, low-income, and disadvantaged communities, implementing projects that provide regional connections, and investing in projects that mitigate impacts related to goods movement, while also advocating for a balance between creating jobs and protecting public health. Second is being a responsible and conservative steward of taxpayer dollars through operational actions achieved by ongoing investment in both road safety and maintenance, continuing to deliver on goals and objectives set forth with applicable voter-approved measures, delivering projects utilizing an efficient and innovative approach and receiving the best service at the best price, and of course, communicating to all stakeholder project updates and their impact resulting from those items. Also, a priority for the Commission is connecting the regional economy through enhanced workforce mobility to employment and education centers, forecasting population growth and assisting to the impact to the environment within that impacted geographic area. Also investing in projects which have a multiplier effect on jobs and economic opportunities within the county. Also to be continued valued partner with local and regional agencies. This ensures continued access to external funding sources and partnering on transit matters, especially during a post-pandemic recovery. Next slide, please. The short-term objectives now for the fiscal year 2023 budget are capital project development and delivery, operations, regional programs, and management services. Capital project updates include the Western County Highway Delivery Plan projects, operations planning and design of expressing projects led by other agencies and the impact on our projects here in the county. Partner agency projects for which RCTC is the lead agency, and consideration of technology-based strategies to manage commutes. Operational updates include our RCT operations in addition to express lanes. These also include commuter rail stations and motorist assisted services. The regional program updates include monitoring transit trends and related factors that impact ridership, create barriers to transit growth, and the addition of van-pools for effective partnerships for transportation alternatives. And finally, we'll look at the fiscal accountability policies that support these goals and promoting the responsibility of the organizational excellence for the agency. Next slide, please. So the Commission's fiscal policies contain 6 key elements. Financial planning requires a balanced budget while also taking into account administrative cost limitations, funding for post-employment benefits, and capital projects along with any related reserves. Revenue policies guide the agency's treatment for its key revenues such as sales tax, toll, other funding sources such as grants, along with proceeds from sale of properties. Expenditure policies establishes a methodology in developing spending priorities, which ensures ongoing monitoring of budget to actual expenses and outlines the agency's procurement and recording of capital assets. With the debt management policy, it outlines the agency's approach in evaluating when to issue debt, along with specific guidelines for post-issuance compliance. Now, cash management incorporates not only the agency's investment priorities, but also the treatment of receipts, payments, and operating balances. And finally, the accounting and financial reporting policies requires the agency to maintain a financial reporting system while ensuring the timely completion of audits and related engagements are completed in a timely manner. With the overview of the Commission goals and fiscal policies, final step is the next steps in this process. Next slide, please. Upon adoption of the provided goals and policies for the fiscal year 23 budget, staff will complete the specific department budgets and developing that initial draft for the budget, which includes a linking of department goals, along with the overall goals and objectives, which include the related fiscal policies. During the during the April and May commission cycle, an executive summary will be presented for consideration, along with that opening of the public hearing. The final budget document will be brought back to the June commission meeting for consideration, concluding with the final adoption on June 8th. This concludes my presentation, and I'm available for any comments or questions. Thank you.
Thank you very much for the presentation. Commissioners, any questions or comments before public comment? I don't see any. I do have a question. So this is, of course, looking at our goals, objectives, and the fiscal policies kind of as a macro view. And so, of course, they seem very similar to what we've had in the past, which one would expect because we're following a proven path. So I would ask, though, are there changes to this from what we've had, say, last year as our goals, objectives, and the fiscal policies?
There's a dramatic changes within the policy and objectives. That there was an inclusion of increased emphasis on mobility throughout the county, but overall there were some administrative changes, but mainly that was the big push this year. I think you said it best, Chairs. The commission policies are proven, and they're being continued forward in the upcoming fiscal year budget.
All right, any questions or comments from commissioners before public comment? Then we'll go ahead for public comment. If you're a member of the public and wish to make a comment on this item, this would be your chance to do so. Commission clerk.
We did not receive any written comments and I'm not seeing any hands raised.
All right, then I will return the item back to the commission for any further questions, comments, or action. This is an action item. We're being asked to review and approve these items and forward them to the commission.
I'd just like to state, along with my motion for approval of the recommendation, that I thought it was a very good report. Thank you.
Thank you very much. So we have a motion on the floor. Do I have a second?
Go ahead and second.
A second. And I'll ask for roll call. Vote.
District 3,
Yes.
Beaumont,
Yes.
Calamasa,
Yes.
Canyon Lake,
Aye.
Cathedral City,
Yes.
Desert Hot Springs,
Aye.
Lake Elsinore,
Aye.
Palm Desert,
Yes.
Palm Springs,
Aye.
Riverside,
Aye.
Waldemar.
Aye.
Thank you. Item 8 passes.
Okay, thank you very much. We'll move on with our next item, item 9, the state and federal legislative update, and call on David Knutson for an update. Thank you.
Good morning, Chair and committee members. Happy to be with you this morning. Well, we're in the midst of a second year of the 2-year state legislative session. The last day for new bill introductions was February 18th, and staff has been anticipating the introduction of bills specifically related to transportation for the last few weeks. One bill in particular is Assembly Bill 1778, authored by Assemblymember Christina Garcia from Bell Gardens. If enacted today, AB 1778 would prohibit any state funds or personnel time from being used to fund or permit freeway widening projects in areas with high rates of pollution and poverty. This one-page bill does not define where freeway widening would be restricted and lacks definition of high rates of pollution and poverty. While this may be a spot bill to be further clarified, the bill's intent and language is exceptionally expansive. AB 1778 could also impact existing projects because of its limitations on permitting. Additionally, AB 1778 does not recognize the extensive state and federal environmental review processes that already exist for transportation projects in California. Our CTC supports reducing air pollution and providing mobility options for all communities across Riverside County. But this bill makes a wholesale prohibition on freeway widening projects. This bill similarly fails to recognize the billions of dollars in state investment that would be needed to develop robust and reliable multimodal transit alternatives in the region to place all communities on an equitable footing. As a result of the issues identified, our CTC staff recommends the commission adopt an opposed position to this bill. The recommendation is consistent with the commission's adopted 2022 state and federal legislative platform, including in the areas of equity and fairness, where policies should be implemented recognizing regional variance by distinguishing high growth regions for their impact on the economy, environment, and should be dynamic in order to address future population growth. The bill also contradicts the commission's platform in the area of regional control, in addition to opposing efforts to place new environmental criteria on transportation projects and programs without commensurate funding or for alternatives or mitigations. And finally, the bill does not support the commission's position that all efforts to maintain, at the very least, state and federal funding for transportation programs. Therefore, today's action is to take the recommendation to oppose the bill. Before I conclude my presentation today, I want to bring to the committee's attention another bill we're actively engaged in, AB 2594 by Assembly Budget Committee Chair, Assemblymember Phil Ting from San Francisco. If this bill were enacted today, it would have a direct and specific impact on tolling operations in Riverside County and across the state. Before I discuss the bill specifically, I want to quickly outline the policy discussions that have taken place over the last few months. In November of last year, SPUR, a nonprofit public policy organization in San Francisco Bay Area, released a report called Bridging the Gap, Addressing the Inequitable Impacts of Bridge Toll Fines and Fees on Bay Area Drivers. The report primarily focused on Metropolitan Transportation Commission's tolling system and made several recommendations, including end high fees and fines, cap total fees per driver per year, end high fees and fines for low-income drivers, in the use of collection agencies, implement payment plans, improve the violation notification system, eliminate car registrations on holds for non-toll payment, provide amnesty for all existing toll debt and end all existing DMV holds, discount tolls for low-income drivers, and perform and publish an annual evaluation of payment systems. The SPUR report specifically identifies fees and penalties as having a significant negative impact on low-income people who, according to this report, have to decide whether to pay rent or utility bills or their accumulated fees associated with an unpaid toll. Furthermore, the report considers issues related to a cashless tolling system and the accessibility issues to the tolled facility by the unbanked. An unbanked person does not use mainstream financial services, such as checking or savings accounts, and primarily conducts transactions in cash. The SPUR report received the attention of Assemblymember Ting when it was highlighted on a Bay Area radio station late last year. When the staff report for this committee was completed, Assemblymember Ting's bill had not yet been introduced to the legislature, but RCTC staff met with his staff to get a general idea of what elements would be included in the bill. And while Assemblymember staff indicated a desire to work with RCTC and toll operators across the state, there appears to be a foundational misunderstanding of the differences between tolled facilities, especially between a tolled bridge in the Bay Area and an express lane in Riverside County. For example, drivers in the Bay Area traveling between Oakland and San Francisco along I-80 use the San Francisco-Oakland Bay Bridge. All drivers pay tolls in the westbound direction when using this facility. There is no immediate alternative to travel between the two cities. In contrast, RCTC's 91 and 15 express lanes parallel general purpose lanes, allowing drivers to decide which facility to take and therefore decide on their own which to use and pay for. RCTC provides choice. Our initial analysis concludes that AB 2594 would significantly change RCTC's tolling operations if enacted, because in general terms, the bill appears to mandate a pay-by-plate or invoicing requirement, whereby drivers without transponders are invoiced for toll payment they've incurred after using the facility. As you know, RCTC uses the transponder approach to collect tolls on the 91 and 15 express lanes. Those who use the express lanes without a transponder are in violation. As the bill appears to require, mixing the invoice process with the existing notice of toll evasion process is a problem for RCTC. It appears the foundational purpose for this bill is to allow the unbanked greater access to tolled facilities and to limit the overall accumulation of fees and penalties that his office believes can cause consumer cycles of debt. We believe the bill goes farther than that. Other issues within the bill include requiring the toll agency to accept cash payments for toll charges and allowing cash accounts, prohibiting a fee to open a cash account, requiring the amount of toll violation penalty not to exceed the cost to process and issue a third invoice, showing the penalty assessed, placing a cap on penalty or interest, requiring a financial hardship process to forgive penalties or to set up a payment plan for an unpaid penalty, requires all toll operators to make the transponder or other electronic toll payment device available for purchase online and at other locations. The bill requires that at least one retail outlet offer transponders for purchase or to be located in every city along the tolled facility. And the bill caps the consumer cost for transponder purchasing to $5. The last point is intended to cap the price that RCTC can charge the public for transponders to $5. That might work for stickers, but for switchable transponders, switchable transponders cost RCTC $12 per unit. It is also the case that requirements like this require financial analysis to determine the impacts to our financing modeling and to meet our obligations, including on our TIFIA loan. RCTC is working in partnership with the California Toll Operators Committee to actively engage on this bill. We are preparing to meet with the necessary committee staff to educate them on the blind spots in the bill with respect to current laws, as well as our processes, our legislative authority, our agency independence, and our financing structures for our facilities. Staff is taking a measured and diligent approach in our response to this bill. We recognize the bill requires the commission to take a position, but because we have been offered an opportunity to provide input on the bill by the author and in an effort to keep the lines of communication open to the legislature, I'm not yet offering a position recommendation for this bill at this point. I am coordinating among our state lobbyists, our legal counsel, toll operations staff, and executive staff to ensure that we have a loud and consistent voice during the legislative process. We will educate, we will offer comments in hearings, and we will meet with elected members of our state delegation, providing information on our facilities and this bill. In some ways, AB 2594 could have been more expansive and included more of the recommendations in the SPUR report, like capping toll rates and eliminating all fees and penalties. We need to be mindful that other stakeholder groups will try to amend the bill to include these elements. This is another reason why we need to take a measured advocacy approach, keeping the dialogue open with the bill author and others. Once we've embarked on our legislative outreach, I'll seek the commission's input on this bill in the near future. Staff will make every effort to bring forward bill position recommendations during this legislative session. There will be cases, however, where things move so quickly that we will use the commission's adopted state and federal legislative platform to take immediate action. For all actions, we will keep the commission updated. Again, the action before you today is to consider the opposed recommendation on AB 1778. This concludes my report. I'm happy to take any questions.
All right, well, thank you very much for that report, especially the discussion about the bill regarding tolling. And, hopefully the efforts will be successful to at least point out the different types of tolling, the difference between a bridge tolling with no alternative and tolling that has to do with the choice of lanes. So commission, any commission comments or questions before public comment? All right, let's go ahead and open this up to public comment. If you're a member of the public and wish to comment on this item, this would be your chance to do so. Commission clerk.
I did not receive any written comments on this item, and I do not see any hands raised. Oh, I do see Supervisor Washington's hand.
Yeah, we'll return it back to the commission and return it to Supervisor Washington.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I have a brief comment prior to my motion to recommend an opposed position. In 2003, I ran for city council in Temecula to replace a gentleman who was trying to solve a traffic problem by insisting that all developers, new development, not build homes with garages that accommodated more than 2 vehicles, on the thinking that that would reduce the number of cars, restricting drivers to a minimum age of 18 rather than 16, which city obviously doesn't have the regulatory jurisdiction to do that, adding a tax of $300 per vehicle sold in Temecula, which would just drive purchasers away from Temecula, not keep them from purchasing. This bill, AB 1778, seems to be similarly misguided, and I think it's a good position for us to take in opposition. So that's my motion.
All right, we have a motion to oppose for our opposed position on AB 1778. Do I have a second?
Second.
All right, second Palm Springs. Any other comment? Then I'll ask for a roll call vote.
District 3,
Yes.
Beaumont,
Yes.
Calamasa,
Yes.
Canyon Lake,
Aye.
Cathedral City,
Yes.
Desert Hot Springs,
Aye.
Lake Elsinore,
Aye.
Palm Desert,
Yes.
Palm Springs,
Aye.
Riverside,
Yes.
Wildemar.
Yes.
Thank you. Item 9 passes.
Thank you. That vote will be forwarded to the commission, as will be the update on state and federal legislation did not require a vote. All right, I'm getting to you anyways, Ann. So our next item, we didn't have any items pulled, so the item after that is item 11, Executive Director Report. And Mayor.
Okay, great. Thank you. Good morning, commissioners. With respect to the legislative platform for this year, I think this committee is going to be hearing a lot each month related to the legislation that is being brought forward. What we've seen so far and what we hear is in the wings will likely mean we're going to have to be really, really engaged this year. So as David mentioned, this legislative process can sometimes start moving really, really quickly. And we will do everything we can to make sure we bring things in a timely fashion to this committee and followed by the commission. If we run out of time because of an immediate action, a legislative hearing gets scheduled, for example, we follow our legislative platform and what you've already approved in terms of any positions. And then if anything out of the ordinary occurs and we need quick action or quick input, we do consult with the officers so that we seek their counsel. But in all of these years, I've never found us to have taken any action that was not in direct alignment with the legislative platform. But I just wanted to let you know, it is the season in Sacramento, and I think it's going to be a very heavy transportation related cycle. So stay tuned. And the only other update I would have for you, again, keeping along the lines of stay tuned, we have a commission meeting next Wednesday. We should know probably by this Wednesday, right before the agenda goes out, whether that meeting will be hybrid or fully in person. It will depend on some actions that the Board of Supervisors is considering tomorrow. So stay tuned. Next week's meeting, the full commission meeting could either be hybrid or it could be an in-person meeting. Will be, especially because this is happening with relatively minimal time for people to make plans. We'll be reaching out to our friends in the Coachella Valley to see if we possibly have an alternative location in the Coachella Valley so that we could post that location on the agenda should it be an in-person meeting. So that could give those who travel long distance a little bit more fair warning before we go fully in person again next week. So we'll let you know as soon as we know what the county protocols are going to be. That completes my report. Thank you.
Great. Thank you for that report. We'll go ahead and move on to the next item, which is commissioner comments. Commissioner, do you have any comments of interest to the commission or to the committee? All right, well, seeing none, that was our last item. So we'll move to adjourn, or just a reminder, our next meeting is scheduled for March 28th, 2022 at 9:30 a.m. And just like the commission meeting, I'm sure we'll be waiting to hear whether that will be an in-person or hybrid meeting. So thank you everyone for your attention and your attendance, and we will see you at the commission meeting. Bye-bye.